So today, our presenters are Identity Automation's very own Director of Product Marketing, Carter Dunbar, and Director of Product, Dave Samia. In today's webinar, To Cloud or Not to Cloud, Defining the Customer Journey to Rapid Identity Cloud, we will get a first-hand look at how Rapid Identity Cloud provides increased security, flexibility, and reliability, along with feature-rich updates that are exclusive to Rapid Identity Cloud. So now it is time for the webinar. I'm going to go and pass the mic and controls over to Carter and Dave.
Thanks so much, Rachel. So first up today is my co-presenter. This is Dave Samia. Dave, would you like to give just a quick introduction of who you are?
Thanks, Carter. Yeah, Dave Samia. I head up product management for Identity Automation. I like to think of product management as the organization that brings amazing ideas to market for consumers or businesses in our case. And so everything that goes from should we build it through to should we retire it is in the portfolio. And I'm excited to talk about some really cool capabilities that are coming out in just a couple more days.
Absolutely. And so I will be presenting with Dave. My name is Carter Dunbar. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at Identity Automation. I spent my 20s as a high school teacher and then moved into the private sector focused on identity and access management. My role within Identity Automation is to understand what market needs are and how our product can better evolve to fit those, where then Dave goes and makes it an actual reality. So we're really excited to talk to you guys today about Rapid Identity Cloud and some of the really powerful features that are going to be associated with that, and why cloud-based IAM is the market trend, as well as just a general cloud-first strategy across K-12 and higher education. So let's talk about why you're even here to start with. Why did you do business with Identity Automation? The real core need is your user population. So what we've seen is a proliferation of technology over the past decade to 2 decades. And when you think about your users at a very base level, what do they need? They need 3 things. They need accounts created for them immediately. You don't need new teachers and students waiting a week, 2 weeks to be able to access even their laptop. When I was starting out as a teacher, it took 5 days for me just to be able to log into my district issued laptop. It was really tough to have any kind of success in the classroom when I couldn't access the resources that I needed to even prepare successfully for that. After that, I need to have access to all of the resources that my courses specifically need. And then I need a simple way and a simple place to access all of these resources. So these base needs of your users fall under identity lifecycle management, application rostering, and secure single sign-on. That is the foundation of your virtual learning experience and your digital ecosystem that you have. So that led you to Rapid Identity. Why did you choose Rapid Identity? Well, Rapid Identity is a very robust, most powerful IAM platform in the education space, and it's built on 8 core capabilities: identity lifecycle management, secure SSO and MFA, password management, access controls, application rostering, delegated administration, role management, and identity governance. Those were the tenets, those were the core pillars that our platform was built on, because it meets the needs of what your digital ecosystem and your digital identities require. So if that's what Rapid Identity has always provided, that's what Rapid Identity Classic was, what is Rapid Identity Cloud going to offer? The core capabilities of Rapid Identity Cloud are exactly the same. So it is literally the same product moved to a SaaS type model. So it's moved to the cloud. It is set up in a way that is actually incredibly secure and beneficial for the district that we're going to look at here in a second. But your core capabilities aren't going to change. You're still going to get that lifecycle management, SSO, MFA, password management, so on and so forth. All of the core features and functionalities that exist in Rapid Identity on premises today are the same in the cloud. There are some differences. When we talk to our existing customer base and they're trying to evaluate, should we stay on-prem, should we move to the cloud? This is a broader conversation than just Rapid Identity, than just IAM. Specifically in the last year with COVID, there has been a massive I don't want to say shift because it was already in place, but there was a massive increase in the urgency to move to cloud-based infrastructure. And so districts and universities and colleges were pushing forward. Maybe they had said we have a 5-year plan to move to the cloud for all of our infrastructure, and that moved up in urgency to where we need to do that this year or in the next 2 years. But the typical criteria when considering on-prem versus cloud setups are: what are your infrastructure investment? What is the tech staff involvement of your team? How does it scale? What's the security and compliance around there? And then what's the infrastructure control? These are the core conversations that we're having over and over with our customer base. So if you look between on-prem and cloud, the investment that you're going to have to spend out of pocket for your infrastructure, if it is on-prem, is going to be much higher than if you offload that infrastructure to the cloud. You are going to be responsible for paying for it. You are going to be responsible for maintaining, updating, upgrading, protecting, securing, all of that. Your tech team then are the people who are going to have to do that. So their time and energy and effort is going to be focused directly on that. Being able to offload that to the cloud means that they don't have to be as involved in the infrastructure side, which allows them to go do higher value things as value adds to your organization. Scalability: if you have an on-prem data center and then all of a sudden your user population were to, let's say, double or continue to increase, you now have to go in and you have to make those changes, which means it's inflexible. There's going to be there's going to be end user interference and disruption, which means you're going to need to have change times, change windows that you go and do that work within to make it a reality. It's inflexible. It requires your investment of money and time. On the cloud is both vertical and horizontally flexible. So from that perspective, it is going to alleviate a lot of that pain for you. Security and compliance. The way I like to explain this is I feel secure if I keep my money in my own house under my bed, because I know where it is and I can see it and I can control it. If I put it in the bank, I no longer have eyes on it. However, it's literally the bank's business to keep my money safe, and they've done it really, really well. If somebody breaks into my house, I'm kind of in a whole lot of trouble. So it depends that peace of mind. The cloud is actually going to be more secure. We'll touch on that in a little bit because you are offloading that responsibility of security to entire teams whose business livelihood is dependent on protecting your data. And then the last one, infrastructure control. So this can be the sticking point. When something is on-prem, you have full control and unlimited access to it. That's like it when I keep my money under my mattress. I have control of it. Nobody else is near it. I have unlimited access. In the cloud, you don't have that. But you don't have that because somebody else is securing it and taking care of it for you. So what does that look like? From an educational perspective, the goal is maintaining your learning outcomes, whether you're on-prem, whether you're cloud. Everything has to be secure, everything has to be up, and it has to be working. When it's on-prem, all of that is your responsibility. The access control, the applications, operating system, infrastructure, physical facilities, everything is your responsibility and your responsibility alone, which means if it goes down, if there is an issue, it's yours. It's your problem to deal with. Obviously, the vendor is here to help 100%, but it's your responsibility to keep it up because it's an on-prem model. With the cloud, it's a shared responsibility model. And this is where it comes into identity automation and our partnership with Amazon Web Services. So with the cloud, you still have the responsibility of access control, administration, and data. So you are owning your own data. We are not owning your data. We are not selling your data. You own your data. You own administrating your data, and you get to own who has access to your data. Everything else you are offloading to a combination of identity automation and AWS. So our goal is to empower you guys to convert your legacy IAM infrastructure to meet the changing needs of your user population and your IT strategy. That's where Rapid Identity Cloud comes in. It's a containerized SaaS delivery model provided by Identity Automation in partnership with AWS. So AWS takes over the physical facility and then partners with us from an infrastructure, hypervisor, computer storage, network virtualization, and OS, security and maintenance perspective. We take on the applications. One of the big talking points over COVID, as we all are aware of, there was a large target that came on the back of educational institutions with the booming remote user population. Because of that, and because of the sensitive nature of student data, it's highly valuable out there for malicious actors. So there was a lot of targeting, both from people who are trying to steal your data, and then also people who just want to take your learning environment down. Maybe it's a student who doesn't want to do work. It happens. DDoS attacks were on the rise during COVID. So with Rapid Identity Cloud, leveraging AWS Shield, we have always on network flow monitoring, and we can stop DDoS attacks so that your users can always access the resources that they need. So at a high level, what are the features of Rapid Identity Cloud? Why was it developed in this way? And what's the benefit to you as a customer? So the first is scalability. So with scalability, we are able to set it to either automatically or on demand, grow or contract with your user size and your traffic. We want it to be elastic so that it's always meeting your needs and only your needs. We have an entire team that is dedicated to continuous monitoring. It's our responsibility to make sure that you are up, that you are the right size, that you are updated, that you are upgraded, that everything continues to work. That is our responsibility, and that's our livelihood. So you're offloading that, which leads to an uptime SLA of 99.9%. So this is important because we put in writing, your environment will be up 99.9% of the time. That is our SLA that we are signing up for, that we are agreeing to. And the important part is that you as the stakeholder can take that to your other stakeholders and say, I guarantee that our learning environment, our digital learning environment will be up 99.9% of the time. And then it's not your responsibility to make that a reality. That is our responsibility to make that true. And again, we are putting that in writing, where not a lot of other vendors are doing that. We've developed the RI Cloud to feature tenant segregation. And the purpose of tenant segregation is to make sure that your data is your data and you're never crossing streams or crossing flows with other customers. So we want to keep your data segmented so that no other district or university or college is accidentally stumbling to and accessing your data. What that has led to is we are FERPA compliant, we are COPA compliant, we have SOC 2 compliance for our software development process. We have all of the compliance that we need to make sure that we are secure, we are putting your data first, and we're not selling your data to other people. And then finally, feature-rich updates. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So what are feature-rich updates that are coming to the cloud? Part of the benefit of being able to deliver a SaaS model for Rapid Identity is that it's standardized and uniform across the board. With that, we can push out updates that you don't have to then go download, you don't have to upgrade, you don't have to install. We can just turn them on and unlock them for you so that you continue to get more value out of your investment as you move along and as we grow as a product. So what does that look like? What are some examples? Well, last year we introduced rostering. So Rapid Identity rostering is a cloud-only feature that is out there. It is in Rapid Identity Cloud, and that has led us now to the next two that we are about to release, which are insights and a personalized experience. So what are analytical insights? Within Rapid Identity Cloud, our goal is not to give you analytics. We don't want to give you just a big old data dump for you to go try to parse through data. The market is very clear. Nobody has time to go parse through data. You're not wanting data. What you're wanting is actual insights. Whether it's an administrator, whether it's a teacher, you want actionable insights delivered to you in a simple, streamlined way. So the flexible analytics dashboards that we are releasing in this first release of insights are allowing you to view activity at the district, school, class, and student level, which we'll give a demo of here in just a second. Identify students who aren't logging in, know who is logging in and from where are they logging in, and then see which apps are used the most in the learning process so that you can do your asset management. You can know which applications are we paying for, how often are they actually being used, is there any correlation between certain application usage and performance? The data is going to be there. The second of our feature-rich releases, which I'm going through kind of quickly because you're about to get a really in-depth demo, is the identity-driven portal experience. So at Identity Automation, we believe that your users should be treated as identities and people and not as accounts. What does that mean? In the education space, it's such a diverse user base. You may have a 5-year-old accessing the same thing as a 55-year-old with a PhD. They should not have to navigate the exact same portal and the exact same experience. If you're treating them as individual identities, what you can do is understand who they are and what that identity or that persona needs, and then deliver a catered experience that gives them exactly what they need. So at a very high level, here's what a login page would look like for an administrator or for a student coming to RI Cloud. They have the same login because at this point, the product doesn't know who they are. But once they identify themselves and they authenticate that they are who they claim to be, the administrator would log in and would see this. This is your traditional rapid identity experience. It's very IT focused. It's very clean. It is very robust in the information, features, and functionalities that are available to it. A student doesn't need all of that. And so what we've done is we are delivering a student-tailored experience to where they log in, they see this. They're not going to have the same experience as an administrator because they don't need to. And the way we're able to do that is because we're focused on the identity and not the account. So at this point, that's a high-level setting of how did we get here? Why did we get here? Dave, let's actually go into the what.
Excellent. Thanks, Carter. If you guys can give me control, I can actually take you into the product and show you what Carter was talking about. While I'm doing that, every time I hear you talk about crossing streams, I think about Ghostbusters.
Every time.
Let's see. I think hard to tell which one I want to share. Not that one. Perhaps that one. Well, maybe this one. Let's see. If I did it right, Carter, can you tell me, are we looking at Rapid Identity configuration screen?
We are, Red Rock Elementary School.
Awesome. Okay, so I am in administrative persona. So I'm a regular Rapid Identity administrator, and we've added new configuration section to enable, as Carter was just talking about, this persona-based experience using Rapid Identity. And so there's a configuration section. We've called it for right now SSO portal. But the key thing is that within this area, you can, as an administrator, configure themes. And a theme, as you can see here for Red Rock Elementary School, a theme is basically what the user will see on the screen. The picture Carter just had, I think owl was the user, a little icon for an owl, showed a list of applications. So the theme serves up a logo. You saw a logo in the upper left-hand corner. Here's the URL for the logo. A theme has a favicon. It's that little icon that shows up on the browser tab, and a name, a title, basically. You know, when the user is looking at the interface, the title that they'll see on the top. So that's controlled in a theme. Very simple. And so a theme is basically what are they going to see, and we're pretty much done. The next part, though, is personas. So the personas use themes. And a persona basically is nothing more than a definition of a group of users, personas, that will see and experience that theme. But I can have different personas seeing the same theme and having a slightly different experience based on their persona. So here I'm looking at Red Rock Elementary School K through 3. So those users whose attributes or roles equate to K through 3 for this elementary school will have this experience in the Red Rock Elementary theme. They will not be able to change their bookmarks. They're K through 3. One of the things we heard from the districts that we talked to was the younger grades, they don't like the younger grades mucking with things. You know, Bobby changes a bookmark or moves an application around, and suddenly the teacher is spending a lot of time trying to help Bobby get back to normal so they can configure or continue with instruction. So here, the ability for the administrator to control the persona so that they can't move things around. At the same time, the administrator can define the applications that the persona sees. So here we're looking at K through 3. The admin has associated those applications that they want this persona, those users that identify with K through 3, to see these applications. And these ones that I have bookmarked, those are the applications that the user will see. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this bookmark on. Since you're existing Rapid Identity customers, one thing you know is applications also have role and attribute-based control. And so we're not changing any of that role or attribute-based control for these applications. In the Red Rock Elementary configuration, I have this, only special users can see that app. So if a user who identifies with this persona comes to see the Red Rock theme, if they do not have the ability to see this application called only special users see this app, they won't see that app. So application security is still applied. And as I mentioned, different personas can use the same theme. So I might have a persona that is for 4 through 6, and 4 through 6 might have a different set of applications. 4 through 6 might be able to do some bookmarking, because in that case, we're pretty confident that they can move their apps around and change what they see. So let's take a look. What does a user who's in this persona, what do they see? So let me jump over here at Rapid Identity screen. I'm going to log on as Pebble Flintstone. And so Pebble identifies with the persona K through 3 for Red Rock Elementary. And so here's our logo that I showed you before, Red Rock Elementary, Go Warriors. I'm Pebble. This is my profile. As Pebble, pretty much I can change my password or I could log out. Most importantly, all Pebble needs to do is get in, launch her applications, and then get on with instruction. And these are the applications she sees. She can see all of the applications, but she doesn't have the ability to change their bookmarks. She can't change how they show or anything like that. She's pretty much locked down. They show in this order that the administrator assigned them. And notice she does not have the application that was called only special users can see this application, even though that application was associated with the persona that Pebble is in. It doesn't show up because she is not privileged per the application definition. So again, application security still applies. So that's Pebble. Let me take you through a different persona. So I'm going to log out as Pebble. And now I'm going to log in as, Fred. So Fred is a parent. And so Fred is going to have an experience for the same district. We're in Bedrock ISD. And Fred is a parent. Fred has now hit the Bedrock ISD parent portal persona that's associated with the Bedrock ISD theme. And so Fred is a parent, predefined. He's got his areas, student information system, so he can go in and check on Pebble, maybe Dino, school messenger, so he can communicate, and transportation, just in case he's got a check bus schedule. You can see though, Fred has a couple of other applications available to him. Fred might not want to see transportation. Fred might want to see maybe FAFSA, depending upon how early he wants to prepare for college. And now FAFSA shows up and the logo or the application tile for transportation is gone. In addition, Fred's not just a parent though. Fred is also, maybe he's a substitute teacher or a full-time teacher. Fred has multiple personas. So Fred equates to several different personas that have been defined by an administrator. And so one of the things Fred might, associate himself with is Boulder High School. And so now Fred has switched his persona, and now he's in a persona associated with Boulder High School, Fighting Mammoths. Fred, again, just like we saw before, Fred can see the applications that he has available to him. In his application directory, he can turn his, bookmarks on or off that will change the way they show up on his application area here. One of the other things we've given Fred is just a link. If Fred needs to get into regular Rapid Identity, we are in Rapid Identity. This is not a different experience, not a different application. It is Rapid Identity with a tailored experience. Fred can launch right into Rapid Identity, and now we're just getting into people. So Fred can go maybe manage Fred's class, as an example. One of the things Fred might want to do is, if Fred has a student that maybe is struggling with the getting into their applications, and Fred just wants to check out to see what that looks like for a student, Fred can proxy as an individual. And here Fred's going to proxy as Bam Bam because Bam Bam's in one of his classes. So we're going to proxy as Bam Bam. Now you can see Fred is proxied as Bam Bam. This is what Bam Bam's experience looked like. Bam Bam's associated with Bee Cave Middle School, go Caves. And Bam Bam has a list of applications, just like everybody else. Notice I can't tailor these applications as, since I'm in a proxy session, I can't turn on a bookmark for Bam Bam or those sorts of things. I can't launch the applications, but I can see what Bam Bam sees. So now if I'm assisting Bam Bam, I can, okay, you go and come into the portal. This is what you're going to see, and I'm trying to get you to Math 180. Click on the third tile from the left-hand side, and you'll be good to go. So proxy as capabilities, which exists in Rapid Identity today, also applies to the new experience as well. And so, Carter, any questions on that? Was that relatively clear?
Yeah, so one question is, we have talked about the student experience being the thing that's coming out, but with RI Cloud and these feature-rich updates and really the containerized SaaS delivery model, you're showing me teachers, you're showing me parents. With teachers, I'm seeing two different views. Is there going to be a teacher experience or a parent experience?
Yeah, well, parent experience we kind of talked about with Fred in his experience. Parents typically get in and launch applications. That's really the defining factor, is what's available in the experience. And so right now the experience affords the ability to launch applications, SSO applications, and reset a password. Over time, we'll be adding more capabilities into the experience. So could be a teacher that needs to, reset someone's password for them. That could be in this experience as well. Eventually, I could be an administrator, and maybe I'm configuring the system through an experience that's very similar to what I'm looking at. What we've learned through talking with all of the districts that we've spoken with, as you get higher in grades, the persona has a different expectation of the experience. Certainly, if we're talking administrators or perhaps middle high school students, they want the ability to have more density on what they're looking at. Here, we've got a very clean interface, not very crowded, not a lot going on. But for a higher grade or an administrator, we can pack a lot more information on, give them the ability to take care of business from this interface here. The ability, simple things, I've had many districts ask for things like dark mode. Give me the ability to have a dark mode, certainly as an administrator. They're used to apps that do dark mode. So we will add more capabilities in here. Right now, we're launching apps. Eventually, we'll have additional capabilities. And then the persona just defines who is able to see it based upon role or attribute.
Sure. So as those expanded experiences are coming out and the expanded capabilities within the experiences are coming out, what does a customer need to do to be able to have that available to them in their platform?
No, this is great. So that's one of the reasons why we chose the cloud deployment for these capabilities. For student experience, the only thing the customer really needs to do is, as I demonstrated before, as an administrator in the administrator role, you've got to go in and configure those themes and those personas. You've got to set it up, basically. I could set up a theme for my entire school and set up a persona for certain grade levels, a persona that would have my parents and guardians, a persona for my teachers. I could have a persona for younger grades that have both my students and my teachers in it. So that's the only thing our customers need to do, is basically define their themes and create their personas that leverage those themes.
So it's almost a gamified experience where the longer you're a customer, the more features just get unlocked for you and are available.
Absolutely. So yeah, we run on a regular cadence now. So every 4 weeks or so, there's something new to experience within Rapid Identity. We know districts don't like, breaking change. They don't like behavioral change that they're not prepared for, because they have to roll these things out to their students as well. So many of the newer capabilities we're deploying, this is an example of it, we have the ability to turn it on for a district when they're ready for it. And so a district might want to, test it out, maybe in sandbox environment, get comfortable with it, prepare their users, and then give us the okay, and we'll just turn it on for them when they're ready. So it'll be there, just waiting for them to give the okay.
Beautiful. So Dave, we've taken a look at what the new student experience is going to look like. What about these insights?
Sure. So let's take a look at Insights. Insights also has a little bit of work that a administrator needs to do. Very simple. The work the administrator needs to do is define users within new roles. So here I'm in the roles section. There's two new roles. There's Insight Manager and Insight Viewer. For right now, Manager and Viewer do the same thing. They basically view what we're calling dashboards. Dashboards are displays of information, metrics, and those sorts of things. We'll take a look at those in a second. So basically, the administrator goes in Insights View, adds as members of that role, and that will enable those users to see this capability here. I'm just going to jump over to this screen, the Insights module. So you can see we have a new module here called Insights. This is the Insights capability. I am still an administrator, but for all intents and purposes right now, I'm a basic user. I'm just going to view some data. I don't have any special privilege here. The data that I'm going to view is based upon topics. We've organized our topics based upon, as you mentioned before, Carter, you talked about life cycle, and it's all about getting identities created in the system, getting their accesses created based upon their entitlements, their birthrights, and those sorts of things, and keeping it all in sync. So when Bobby graduates from second grade to third grade, Bobby's accesses are taken away for second grade, and he's given accesses to third grade, all dynamically. And so really we start with a list of who are the users in the system. And then we talk about what are those users doing, logging on, as you mentioned, not logging on, what are the applications they're using, inactivity, those accounts that don't seem to do anything, and then other actions in the system. So here I'm looking at users in my district. So again, I'm just a regular person, not an administrator. I have 34 schools in my district. Average student count per school of active accounts is 500. And so 14,000 students in my district. And if I want to get a little bit more information, you'll notice as we go through here, I'll be doing very similar things. Most of our dashboards, or most of our topics, if you will, like users, they're laid out by here's an overview of what you're looking at. Here's a frequency display, which would be period over period. We'll drill into that, and then detail. If you're the sort of person that just wants the numbers, man, here's a detail. You push the detail, show you what that looks like, and here's a pivot table with all the data you could have ever asked for. Every one of these displays has the ability to download the data as well. And so if I just want to see the raw data, I can download the data from any one of these data displays. Also, I can filter data. Depending upon what I'm looking at here, I can filter by school type, school name. You can see all the schools that are in my district here. These schools, for whatever reason, we didn't have a friendly name. System couldn't resolve a friendly name for them, so we're using their school code. So that everybody, no schools are left behind, if you will. So all the displays, all the dashboards will be similar, the ability to filter the data I'm looking at. So if I want to drill into schools, let's take a look at our 34 schools and see exactly what we have here in our district. So I'm looking at my active user count, and I see I have a couple of different school types. This NA will be changed. We'll be using something like district schools. Again, in this case, the data, we were not able to resolve a school type from the data. And so we'll be using a standard, something like district school or something for those schools where we do not have a school type. And so I can see the breakdown of students versus staff. Here, if I look at exceptional children as an example, you can see that we're very close. 80 students, 83 staff. So this is almost one-to-one. I have the ability, if I want to take a look, let's take a look at the schools that are there. I have one school in this school type. That gives me the ability, and again, I can drill down further. If I want to see the grades of those students, I can drill down in this elementary school. There are their grades. If I want to zoom in on a certain area, I can zoom in. Maybe ninth grade looks pretty big, but fifth grade is small. Look at how small that is compared to everybody else. And drill right down to the individual users. There's one in fifth grade in this school, which is in this district. Here's a top 25 display. So in my district, what did I say? I had 34 schools. Here's my top 25 of them. Looks like Muller Middle School is my largest school. Same thing that I just showed before. So I'm looking at students versus staff. This is a pretty healthy mix. I have a school here, couldn't resolve the school name, so we're using the school code. It's all staff. It's probably administrative. It's probably not a real school. It's probably more of an administrative group. Same thing as I displayed before. We can take a look and break Muller down by their grades. Looks like 9th grade is the winner. 10th grade, 12th grade, they're all pretty close. The school is pretty well balanced. So I imagine when you're walking around the halls, you see about the same amount of kids between classes. So yeah, that's basically, the basic overview of who's who. At the same time, I can look at, what's getting created in the district over a period of time. And I'm comparing years over years. So the green is 2020, brown 2019, and then 2018. And I notice here in May, notice how May diverges in 2020. In 19 and 18, they were both increasing. The number of users being added in my district were increasing, but for some reason, May was decreasing. So I'm going to right mouse click and see, let's take a look at school type. Maybe we can narrow it down. Was there a certain type of school type? No, there wasn't a certain type of school type. Maybe school, let's see, school name, grade level. Let's take a look at maybe school name. Let's see if we can figure out, was there a school? Oh, look. You can tell there's a couple of different schools that are contributing to that delta between, users being created in 2019 and 2018 versus 2020. So I probably want to check to make sure, like Halverson Middle School, in 2020, we added no students or staff versus 2019 where, we added some. So I can drill into the data a little bit more, find out who those users were, but it just gives me a visual indication as to where I'm adding, where I'm not adding. That could be indicative of a problem. Or if I'm thinking about resourcing, at least it gives me an appreciation for, I'm thinking Lum Elementary. I probably don't want to be thinking about increasing resource at Lum Elementary based on 2020 performance as an example. So I mentioned before, detail for those folks that just want the raw data. Each one of these topics brings up a display that will show, I'm looking here at created year. I'm going to turn off this filter there, and you can take a look at all the created years based on school type, based on school name, grade level, user status, active or inactive. Just as we saw before, I can drill all the way down to the individuals if I want to see the data about them, or I can filter over here as well. The next topic we have are logins. So those are the users. The next thing we want to take a look at are the users logging into the system. So here you can see, I'm looking at over the last 90 days worth of data, days of the week. See how lumpy the data is. You can see the weekends in the data. Let's get the weekends out. So I'm going to turn that filter off. If it is red, it's being excluded. If it's this light gray, which you'll see in a second, or dark gray in this case, it's included. So I'm only looking at weekends. So let me take a look and show you what the red would be. I'm going to turn weekends off. And now I'm taking weekends out of the equation. So now I'm looking at my data without the weekends. So I get a better, if I'm looking at a trend, I can see a trend that looks like it's almost flat, really, from a student using the system, logging into the system perspective. Same thing, this is successful. I'm looking at unsuccessful on 3/29 for some reason. Maybe it was teacher day or something like that. Didn't have a lot of logins. At the same time, I can drill into any one of these data points if I want to take a look at what was going on at that point in time. Let's take a look at the schools that contributed to that login. Looks like I've only got a couple of schools really that have a lot of users logging in. Lum Elementary is in the display. Macomber Elementary is here as well. If I take a look again, maybe I take a look at the grade levels that were contributing to logins. Looks like 10th grade is the winner for this school. And again, if I want to drill down, I can drill all the way down to take a look at that. Another display that I'd look at in logins is frequency. So frequency is going to be my activity, period over period. So I'm looking at prior day. I'm looking at this week. In fact, if I take a look at prior day, let's take a look at another display. It was also available had I clicked on the pie chart before. So you'll see a lot of these places I can navigate to the same data. It's just a matter of where I'm coming from. But what I'm looking at here are student logins, successful student logins over yesterday, this week, last week. So folks that are in this category, so I had 26,000 successful logins yesterday. That's great. Last week, 325,000. No, this week, 325,000. So these are the users that logged in this week, but they didn't log in yesterday. And the next display last week, they logged in last week. They haven't logged in this week at all. What are we now? Wednesday, the middle of the week. Why aren't those students, engaging with us, and so on and so forth? And of course, what everybody wants to know, well, who are they if they're not engaging? So I can just jump right down. Students that didn't log in yesterday, let's take a look at who those folks are, and take a look at them by, again, school type, school, grade level, total students. So I just have a small display here. Let me take a look at grade level 6 in Leonhardt Elementary School. Let's take a look who they are. And so now I'm going to break those two folks down, Dakota and Zara. So these two folks, they didn't engage with us yesterday. Might be a concern, might not be a concern. I might want to take a look at, well, here's a concern. If we take a look at Zara as an example, their average days since the last login attempt was 19 days. So they haven't even attempted to log in 19 days. And last time it looks like they were probably successful. So they haven't logged in 19 days. Certainly something I probably want to take a look at. So that's it about the logins. We talked about who's in the district, broken those down, who's growing, which school's not growing. Those users, what are they doing from a login perspective? Now let's take a look at their applications, as you mentioned. Right, so now they're logged into the system. They should be launching applications. So let's take a look at application usage in the district. And I'm just going to zoom in. I think you've got a pretty good appreciation for what I can do in each of these displays. I'm going to zoom in on my student display. So I've got 80% of my application usage is from students. That pretty much makes sense. Let me take a look at that detail of what application students are using and what they're not using. So I've got a top and bottom display. So the most popular applications being used by my students in the entire district, obviously Canvas, Empower Students, SchoolNet, they're all pretty popular. Applications that aren't being used by my students, HMH, only a couple of users, 2 users using HMH over all of the days in the data set, which is at least 90 days of data. Discovery Education as well. So if, as a district, I'm paying for many seats for these applications, I'm certainly not getting my money's worth. So it gives me an appreciation for who's using them and what's not getting used. Again, I can drill down if I want to take a look at what schools or what users. I can take a look at those schools that are using Discovery Ed. I have 2 schools that are using them. I can get all the way down, as I mentioned before. Let's take a look at the user. It's just 1 user in this case using Discovery Ed. So gives me an appreciation for what's being used, what's not being used. One display is different here than we've seen in the past, which is the ability to filter. As you saw me filtering before, days of the week was an on or off sort of thing. If I'm looking at the school name, I select from a list. Here, application name, we give the district, the viewer, the ability to search for specific applications using text strings. Contains, doesn't contain, starts with, ends with. Well, we've heard from many districts, they have very long lists of applications. And so we want the ability to tailor this display, to pinpoint those applications we're looking for. Finally, well, not finally, if I go into frequency, same sort of thing. We can see what are my applications being launched over a period of time, staff versus students. If I'm looking at staff, I'm typically looking at schools. If I'm looking at students, I'm typically looking at grades. Looks like 10th grade is the winner here from application usage. 8th grade is the next largest one, and then 9th grade underneath that. And then inactivity. So as a topic, inactivity are those accounts that are active in the system, but they're not doing anything in the system. They've not logged in, they've not launched an application, haven't claimed an account or anything like that. And I have a lot of them hanging out from 2013, and look, it's grown even in 2020. In 2020, I added close to 1,000 students into my district that have never done anything in the system. And maybe that's okay, but maybe it's something that I want to take a look at, because as you mentioned before, when you were talking about security, this would be a threat vector, right? I have accounts that have the ability to do something, but they're not being used. And look, they're in the younger grades, like grade 0, grade 1. So maybe that's okay, but definitely want to check into that to make sure that these accounts should be, and maybe they were supposed to be cleaned up and they haven't been. So that's inactivity. And then finally, we have, everything else. What else do we do in Rapid Identity? We reset our passwords, we claim our accounts. If we are a teacher, we might be resetting our students' password. And so here in the district, we're taking a look at our actions. Most of the actions being done in the district are self-service password updates, which is amazing, right? That's really good. That's what we want. And when we take a look at self-service password updates, 2,000 successful, 80 unsuccessful. So that tells us our users are doing a pretty good job. When they go to reset their password, they're not having much problems doing that. And then their claim accounts, they were all successful, 129 claim accounts. So it gives us an appreciation for what else is going on in the system. So with that, let me see if there's any questions, Carter. Did that all kind of make sense?
It did. I love seeing the number just from the perspective of here are all your users that are using self-service password reset, because to me that means my team or my help desk isn't having to field all of those. That alone is just incredibly valuable to me.
Yep, and this little red bar, right? And so when they're doing that, who's unsuccessful? So there are some that are unsuccessful. Let's find out, is there anything about them, their grades? If I look at their grades, it looks like 11th grade is great, ninth grade is struggling, right? 7th grade is struggling, the younger grades, 4th grade, go get them, 4th graders, they're able to reset their passwords without any problem. So again, you can get down to the data that you're looking for to go, take action.
Yeah, so Dave, we have user insights, login insight, application insight, inactivity insights, actions insights. This is all fantastic. This is all the stuff that is coming out with the first release within Rapid Identity Cloud for Insights. Is this what Insights is going to be moving forward?
We're just scratching the surface. Thanks for asking that, Carter. We're just scratching the surface. You think about the rest of the data just in Rapid Identity plus the capabilities of the platform. So one of the things that we want to expose for those organizations like higher ed, definitely, but some of our larger districts use the governance capability. So the ability to request access entitlements, have those access entitlements approved, certified. So we'll be adding governance type as a topic. I don't know if we'll call it governance or whatever, but the ability to know who has what, when was it certified or approved, who's certifying things, how many things are left to be certified, and those sorts of things. In addition, the platform it's a huge big data database. We use, I think it's MongoDB under the covers with a machine learning and artificial intelligence on top of it. And we're just scratching the surface with regards to the AI capability. So we could spend a long time just going through just what I showed you here, but right now the system's able to tell us things like anomalies. So on some of the displays, there'll be a little light bulb that pops up. You click the little light bulb and it will show us, these are the things that we see going on in the system. I didn't even create a chart form or anything. It's just the system found them, thought they were interesting. The ability for viewers to be able to say, you know what, I want to be notified when a data element that I'm looking at is, if it's different. Maybe I want to set a range. So I could say, I want to know the data element that I'm looking at set at 100. I want to know when it goes to 150 or when it goes to 50 or 75, right? And so the system will automatically send them an email notification with the display of the data and the ability to link in and see it if they want to. In addition to that, though, the user might say, I just want to know when this data is outside of normal operating range. And so the artificial intelligence will understand what normal operating range is. Over time, it's got to learn, day one, it won't know what normal operating range is, but over time, users will have the ability to get proactive notifications when something is abnormal. Students didn't log in, as we were looking at, when logins, yesterday versus logins for all the other time. When that changes, suddenly we have users not logging in, the ability to get proactive notifications. And then there's so many other things that we'll do with this over time.
Love it. And just like everything else, as this grows, as this evolves, as this develops, it's just going to be available to unlock.
Absolutely.
And we are constantly in communication, collaborating with our customer base to understand what are the insights that they need, what's the insights they're looking for, so that we can make these completely customer driven and provide the value that you guys are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely, Carter. And along those lines, right, what I'm showing right now is based on the data that we have available to us. that's not going to be the only data we're ever going to have available to us. So as we add more data, we enrich this with more data sources, the insights will become even greater.
Absolutely. Dave, thank you so much for this demo. Rachel, if you could throw it back to me, I will close out the presentation. We have some really important content left over here that I want to make sure we put out to everybody, and that is questions. Rachel, did we have any questions come in throughout this time?
Yes, we did. We had 3 actually. So the first one, Carter, is for you. Folks are wondering, when will customers be able to move to the cloud?
Fantastic question. The good news is we already have customers who have moved to the cloud. So Rapid Identity Cloud is fully and generally available. We've had net new customers who Rapid Identity Cloud is the only form of rapid identity that they know. We also have existing customers who have been converted over to Rapid Identity Cloud and successfully converted their on-prem solution to the cloud solution. So whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Love it. Second question, Dave, this one is for you. How often will new feature updates be released to the cloud?
Oh, great question. So as I mentioned before, we've got a really good cadence going. We work with 1 week worth of planning, 3 weeks worth of development. And the feature team, the product team, is typically 1 month trying to be 2 months ahead of all that. So every four weeks, there's a release becoming available. Development ends, we go through QA testing, we put it internally because we drink our own champagne, and then we claim it general available and we roll it out to our customers. Right now, based upon waves, we do a wave, so it doesn't just flush out to everyone. And again, many of these capabilities will put behind a flag. So if customers don't want to take advantage of it right away, they don't necessarily have to. They can ask to have it. But every 4 weeks, the cloud environment is getting updated with something new.
Awesome. And then the last question, Carter, this one is also for you. What is the migration path from Rapid Identity on-prem to Rapid Identity Cloud?
That is a fantastic question. So again, because we have already gone through this process with several customers already of converting them, I think you said the word migration, and I want to be careful. We are not viewing this as an actual migration. This is purely a conversion. So the solution that you have in the on-prem Rapid Identity appliances that you've been leveraging, we just convert that solution to Rapid Identity Cloud. So the benefit of the conversion path is because we've gone through it, it's very well documented. The steps are lined out for you, and we can handle pretty much all of that behind the scenes to where there is very, very minimal user disruption. Really, the biggest disruption that you would have is if your users are leveraging Rapid Identity as their SSO portal, that URL would change. That's really about it. But if you have specific questions around the conversion path, wanting to set that expectation of what would that be like, how long does it take, what steps do I need to do, yada, 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 we have all of that available for you if you reach out to your customer success rep, or if you just email your account executive, or if you don't know who either of those people are, 1, shame on us, but 2, shoot an email to sales@identityautomation.com or call 877-221-8401, and we are absolutely happy to hop on and talk to anybody about this. So thank you so much for your attention today. Thank you so much for the time. Rachel, that's what we've got.
Thanks again for joining us, and we hope everyone has a great day.